Good evening, everyone. This is Mitch with SC Weather. I hope y'all been having a great day. We're going to break down some crazy things, some crazy swings in the models today, some crazy solutions. The GFS, especially the European model, has really honed in a time period that they like for winter weather in the southeast. We're going to talk about when this Arctic air mass is going to come, if it ever will, or will it just be cold air, will it be just enough that we need here in the southeast and just the east coast for winter weather. So we're going to break all that down. Keep in mind in this video, when you see these model runs, do not take it as gospel. That does not necessarily, it's just guidance. That's all models are, and that's what I'm here for, to break it all down and give my own personal opinion to it. It's just guidance, guys. You got operational runs, you got ensembles, and we're going to break down both and what they're showing. But keep in mind, on y'all's weather apps, whether it's the Weather Channel, whether it's the your default iPhone apps, it's going to start to show snow. You're going to start to see it. Do not take them so serious, guys. I try to stress that to the public. People see a snowflake on their default iPhone app, and they just think it's going to happen, and they start telling everybody it's going to snow, and then when it doesn't, meteorologists, weather people, what have you, start to get a bad name and saying something that never really was supposed to happen. So keep that in mind. So we're going to break this down. If you guys have not subscribed, maybe consider subscribing. It's an awesome way to support me. I'm very passionate about weather. I love talking about it to all y'all. So just consider subscribing, liking the video if you like it. Share the video. Hit the notification bell. It's much appreciated. Also, I've been doing this new thing where drop a prayer. If you would like for me to pray for you or anybody else in the comments like to reach out to you. And if it's unspoken, say that. It's just a way that I'm trying to use my platform to glorify God. So thank y'all for tuning in. Let's break this down. We're going to start off with a bang here. We're going to show you that crazy GFS run. So here we go. We're flipping through. We're getting through. And let me tell you, the Arctic air mass that was showing up for early next week is gone. There's a delay in it. There's a cold front that pushes through this weekend, but it's nothing crazy at all. So we got a couple systems. We got this one. We got this system, and this Arctic air mass that I'm going to show you for as far as temperatures really begins to settle in here. And what happens is you get Arctic air sitting over this area, and you get overrunning. And it occurs, and bang, you have a widespread deep south winter storm. Check it out. Blew over the entire southeast. This is a big-time snowstorm, big-time winter storm. Whatever this is, it doesn't matter, because guess what? It's 228 hours out, and it's the operational GFS, which a lot of times is ridiculous. You also got this ridiculous 1057 high up here that's almost unrealistic and unheard of. A 1040, 1045 high is a high enough high pressure, but you got some kind of 1057. But I will tell you one thing, it keeps showing up in the medium to long range, so that's something to watch. But you got a picture perfect low pressure placement riding through. You got enough cold air, and you have overrunning that's occurring, and you got some crazy heavy snow breaking out over the Carolinas. And look at my Columbia folks here, Midlands, huge heavy snowfall moving through. This is just one model, and it goes on for 36 to 48 hours. It's incredible. It's an incredible run, but it's just a fantasy run. Now check it out. I back it up here. We go to the run prior, and you bring it back here, and look, the run before that, there is the same winter storm in the same time frame. So we've had two back-to-back fantasy snowstorms. Let me tell you, a fantasy snowstorm normally comes up in one run and then disappears. You actually have it back-to-back. And even if you go back to the run previous to that, yeah, there's not really a storm there. But between the European and the GFS, they're liking next weekend, which feels like an eternity away, for some kind of storm system or something. So we got to watch this. This gets through, and check out the snowfall accumulations this thing tries to spit out for us. Yes, you're looking at that correctly. But look at it with a grain of salt, guys. I'm telling you, please do that. Do not tell everybody it's going to snow a foot next weekend. This is just one fantasy run. But I'm showing you this because there is a storm signal for the southeast next weekend once the Arctic air bleeds east, and we can really get an overrunning kind of event. This is like a 1973 redo here. And for some of the old timers, y'all remember this storm where Columbia got, I think, 15, 16 inches of snow. But this is a huge huge winter storm showing up on here. So let's go on and get going into more realistic data. National Weather Service 6 to 10 day outlook still showing the high potential for colder than average temperatures. That runs from the 9th to the 13th of February. You go to the 18th, the 8 to the 14 day range, which is the 11th to the 17th. Sorry if you hear my kids in the background, they're just playing. There is still a high chance, especially around that time frame when we're talking about the potential for a winter storm. Really, I wouldn't even call it potential, just the look of it. High chance of below average temperatures. So you go back to looking at temperatures, and let's look at it because this is super interesting. So you get through the weekend. We're getting into the weekend now. You get a punch of cold air. Now, this is the first Arctic air mass that settles over the Midwest. I tell you what, the Midwest looks like they are going to freeze for about a week. So as we're going here, let's freeze it right here. You got this weekend, but you start to get past this weekend, and bear with me, guys. My internet's not the fastest. That's one of the things I look to upgrade for you guys in the future as things tend to grow. But you start to get going, and just look how cold it is up here. This is something, it's going to dump west, which means the Arctic air is going to really dump to our west. But eventually, and here comes the big Arctic front here, you get it right here in the southeast ridge, what I call flexus. So you get Florida in the 80s, Carolinas in the 70s, Georgia in the 70s, and you've got Arctic air pretty much right up the road, right? So this is high temperatures next Wednesday. 70s in the Carolinas, out there in Memphis and parts of Kentucky, Arkansas, you're not getting above freezing. It's incredible. Eventually, it bleeds east, which means it moves east and sets the stage for that winter storm I just showed you. And here you go. You're getting into next weekend, and this is high temperatures, right where that winter storm's right on top of us, and you still have just brutally cold air. These are high temperatures in the negatives in the upper Midwest. So, incredibly cold air mass. And after that winter storm moves through, I mean, this is 264 hours out, guys. This will change run to run to run. High velocity, just high change ratio rates here. Okay, that didn't make any sense. There's high chances of big-time model changes here in the next few days. I really think before they can hone this down. But this is brutally cold air that really just entrenches the area. It's ridiculous. Let me tell you something. I can't not discredit and not talk about the Ensemble Runs. This is the Ensemble Runs for the GFS Ensembles. 282 hours through. Guys, that is not impressive. It is not following the operational run. Granted, that storm is very far out, but that is not an impressive mean at all. That's nothing like what you saw in the operational run. You have to follow ensembles this far out. You have to. So you saw that big run on the GFS. It looks awesome. It's easy on the eyes, right? But you look at the ensembles. They're not showing it yet. Now, they do show something, but they're not showing it yet. North Carolina, it's showing it big time for you, but just nothing crazy yet. So we look at the operational European run. We get through. You get moisture associated with the front, and then it looks like you have a storm system that, well, basically you have a storm system that starts moving along this Arctic front that is just taking its sweet time. It is not going to blast through. You have a lot of moisture overrunning the boundaries, what you call overrunning, like I've mentioned. And then basically when you get to the end of the run, you have Arctic air bleeding east and settling in on the east coast. And look at this last frame of the Euro. And even if you look at the last frame of the Euro from overnight, it shows the same thing. That's the one from overnight. That looks just like January 3rd, 2018. It really does. So you get a little bit closer to this run from the European today. Last run, last look of the European. It's coming. There's something coming. But it's 240 hours out. It sucks. It's that far out. It really does. It's unfortunate. And but this is just how it goes. But let me tell you, the reason I'm talking about it so much is because both main models, the GFS and the European, are basically liking the idea of the Arctic air eventually bleeding east, right? And some kind of storm system overrunning that Arctic air. So it's worth mentioning for sure. And you look at the European, it's the same thing as the GFS. There's that Arctic front next week. Temps soaring into the 70s, just like the GFS is for Wednesday. It's crazy how much agreement they are in the long range, long to medium range here, but you have just crazy Arctic air sitting on top, and eventually it starts to inch east into the southeast. So you have to pay the respect. You look at the temp anomalies here. This is temperatures compared to average. And there it is this weekend, the Arctic air settling into the upper Midwest, and warm southeast ridge above average temperatures above it, and you have basically a battleground right here of an Arctic air mass and warmer than average temperatures. But eventually you get into later next week and it tries to bleed east. Guys, I really think it's just a matter of time. It's delayed, and a lot of times when it's delayed, it's normally denied. But in this case, this eventually has to move southeast. This eventually has to bleed into our area, and I really think it will. So you look at the European ensembles, the EPS here, same thing as the GFS ensembles. It's not really impressed. I mean, it shows a little bit of a signal, but it's just nothing to get really excited about. So we really need to pay attention here. So I want to show you this, because it does you a good idea showing you the roller coaster that if the GFS was to happen, or just the models in general was to happen, gives you a good idea how much of a roller coaster we're in. So from now, and I'm just showing you Columbia, you know, it's pretty much like this across the southeast, except Florida. Showing you Columbia, we're pretty much average temperatures. Tonight's going to be very cold, and check it out. Next Wednesday jumps up to 77. But look, you go up the top of the roller coaster and you go riding right back down. It's trying to tell you we're going to get down to 4 degrees two Mondays from now. It's not going to happen. Now, if it does, y'all can come back and tell me and tell me to eat crow, but you just go from this to that. So it gives you a good idea, temperature-wise, at a face value, that really shows you how crazy these models are right now. Some of the most known meteorologists are talking about it, like Brad Panovich out of Charlotte, which I'm a big fan of how much these models are going to swing. It's ridiculous. But I'll tell you one thing, the Arctic air is delayed, but I do think it's inevitable. It's going to happen eventually, so we're just waiting on it. That's pretty much all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. This is going to be an active period over the next 7 to 10 days, so tune in. I'm going to try to reel in a winter storm for the southeast, even us here in South Carolina. Would be nice, right? So y'all have an awesome night, and thank y'all for tuning in.